That's simple, but your hands hurt, don't they? But, I mean, that's the beauty of it, you know. And you all sound good. It's not that hard, right? You do have to be careful sometimes. You hit that vein right there, you know, it swells up. The lice will take care of that. But again, that's, back in the day, that was probably somebody's mother saying, "Hey, you're late for dinner and get home." But it was all a language back then, and that's how they communicated. But that's where Afro Blue came from, and cool time. Drums feel great, don't they?
Yeah.
Nice.
Matt, how are your hands after a long show like last night?
Feel my hands. I think we're going to now, are they not soft? You would think they'd be more beat up than they are.
Oh yeah, no calluses, I'm surprised.
Well, when I was younger, I used to get really bad, big calluses, but that's because you're holding the stick wrong properly, and that's a good point to bring that up, right? We talked about this last time, the importance of stretching and getting your muscles to be hot and warm. As you all know, whenever you do anything cold, you're going to hurt yourself, you know, so it's always good to always warm up to some extent. And but when I used to get calluses, it was because I was holding the stick really tight, and I learned not to do that. But this is one way to start to warm up your hands. And this is called a fulcrum, the point where your stick is there. And you take the drumstick and just do that. You get your thumb strong and the fulcrum right there, which is the first line on that finger. And so that's one of the ways I warm up. I mean, do that for 5 or 10 minutes, you know, and you'll see what I'm talking about. And another way is warm up your hands is take the stick and run it through your fingers like this, and it's warm up yourself. And don't be afraid to drop it, because that happens all the time. And but do that for about 10 minutes, and that'll start warming up. And there's ways to stretch your feet also. Talked about this last time. Your bass drum is very important in the whole playing of the drum kit. And it's just nice to be warmed up when you go on stage. You know, otherwise you're cold and you can't do what you really need to do. But this is what I do with my feet. You raise your heels up as far as they can go on the floor and let them down slowly and put them up here where you feel that muscle tighten. And I do a lot of this. Just start slowly and then building it up. These are basically tap dancing exercises. Buddy Rich was a tap dancer. There are a lot of drummers who were great tap dancers. Fred Astaire, did anybody know Fred Astaire, the great dancer, was an unbelievable drummer. And yeah, really good. And he had all these tap dancing techniques. So doing this with my feet, it looks easy, but just try doing that back and forth. Yeah, you probably tap dance, yeah. Heel, toe, heel, toe, heel, toe, heel, toe. I mean, just stupid little things like that, but they work, you know, and it's like, you have to keep yourself in some kind of physical state to play drums. Believe me, I know. Last night, we hadn't played since New Year's. The first set, I did a couple of things where I said, I can't do this, I'm going to die. It's like, you know, breathing heavy, but, you know, once you get past that point, it becomes really easy. And once you get to the point where you're not thinking about what you're doing up there, everybody knows it's called being in the zone. You know, it's like a runner's high. And so you're just operating, everything's working fine and you're not thinking about it. When you try to intellectualize anything, that's when everything starts to go downhill, you know, pretty much. So,
Can you change your drums so much? Do they go through like a theme?
well, that's a good question. I'll pick up there. Warren writes the set list to drop me off at different points every night. Say he drops me off. Last night we did Rider Day, so he dropped me off at high level. Other nights I'll be dropped off at the extreme of that, with a low point, and at that point I might start it with the hand drums. So I kind of assess what I'm going to do every time I look at the set list and where he's dropped me off. Or sometimes I don't look at the set list and I like to be surprised. That happens a lot too. So.
Is there different themes that come out? Like, if you've been listening to something in particular in your spare time?
That all comes into play, no doubt, yeah. But you know what? It doesn't have to be music. And I want to try to say this right. Everything you do puts itself back into the music. If you happen to be in the middle of a good book that particular day, and somehow that book comes into what you're doing, you know, and how you're expressing yourself. It can be in other things too. It's like the meal you just had, the good meal you had, or the bad meal you just had, or you know, how tired you are, how jet lagged you are, you know, feeling good, feeling bad, just seeing somebody out in the audience that, yeah, you know, all those things come into play. So I go where something tells me to go. I'm not sure what it is.
Is there any covers that you brought forth for that you particularly love to play?
Any kind of music?
Yeah, like a cover tunes that you guys have done, or you brought forward and said, this is a tune I love to play.
Oh, you mean for the band?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. I mean, even stuff that I've written and given it to Haynes, and he's taken it somewhere else, you know, but he's really good at doing that, you know. I might have an idea for a start of the song or middle of the song, and he'll put it all together. But as far as covers, too, we'll also suggest covers that we like, that means something to us, and we'll put that into the mix. It's a democracy, you know. It's like everybody is, as you say, everything we do.
That traffic number was great last night.
The
two traffic,
yeah.
Back to back.
Yeah, we did empty pages, yeah. Traffic was a great band. That was another band that I loved at the time when they came out. Steve Winwood and Dave Mason, and yeah, just killer.
Can you show us when you, I think it was during Cortez last night, when you, with your left hand, with the, I'm sorry, with your left hand, Matt, how you, you'll almost have it vertical at points during the number, and I was wondering how you do that and what kinds of songs. I know typically are jazz numbers or jazzier numbers, but why do you do it? When do you do it?
Okay, that's a good question. There's a couple different ways to hold the drumsticks. In fact, this is the way I learned. This is called the traditional grip. And it's like this because in the old days, marching drummers had a drum on their body, and it was always at the hand like this. So that was they were marching, you know. So it was on a slant like this, and so it's just natural you can't play like that. That makes sense. So that started this technique like this. When Johnny comes marching home. And the earliest jazz drummers took that approach, and when the modern day drum kit was invented, they angled their snare drums just like the old school military marching people. And so that was the first grip. This is called the match grip. Now this is a totally natural grip. Anybody who would pick up a pair of drumsticks would probably pick them up like this and play. This is easy to play on a flat surface. It's all a matter of feel. There's some things that feel right when you're playing like this.